Most men don't realize this, but everything they think they know about attraction is wrong. They believe it's about looks, about money, about showing off what they have. But the truth, the brutal unspoken truth, is that women aren't looking for a trophy or a wallet. They're looking for presence. They're looking for energy. They're looking for a man who carries himself in a way that is magnetic, intentional, and unshakable. And yet 97% of older men are invisible. They walk into rooms, into conversations, into relationships, and they are ignored because they are giving the wrong signals, chasing validation, and missing the one thing that makes them unforgettable. By the time this video ends, you will understand why women notice certain men instantly, why they feel drawn without even knowing why, and why some men age into irrelevance while others grow into irresistible authority. I'm going to reveal 8 habits that transform older men from ordinary into magnetic, from background noise into someone women can't stop thinking about. Habits so subtle, so overlooked, that most men have never even considered them, yet they hold the power to change the way the world perceives you forever. We're going to talk about presence that commands attention without effort, about listening that makes people feel seen in ways words can't explain, about discipline, purpose, and standards that elevate your energy, about emotional composure that turns chaos into strength, and about the kind of mystery that makes people obsessed with discovering you. These aren't tricks. They aren't strategies you copy from a book. They are ways of living, ways of thinking, ways of being that transform the invisible into the irresistible. If you watch carefully, and if you commit to what I'm about to reveal, you will never look at attraction, confidence, or age the same way again. By the end of this video, you will understand what 97% of older men will never learn, and you'll have the tools to become the man who commands attention the moment he enters a room. The first thing you need to understand about attraction at any age is that it begins with presence. Not the noisy, desperate kind of presence that demands attention, but the kind that is quiet, controlled, undeniable. Older men who appear magnetic, who draw people in without speaking a word, have mastered a skill most younger men never even consider: the art of silence. And this isn't about being shy or withdrawn. It's about knowing when to speak, when to act, and when to simply exist in a way that makes people notice you. There is power in restraint, power in stillness, and power in confidence that doesn't need to announce itself to the world. Think about the men you've noticed in your life, the ones who naturally command attention when they walk into a room. Rarely are they the loudest voices. Rarely are they trying to impress anyone. They carry themselves with a calm certainty, a stability that makes others instinctively respect their space and energy. Silence in this context becomes a magnet. Women, in particular, sense it immediately. They feel it in the way you occupy a space without urgency, in the way you listen without interruption, in the way you don't need to explain yourself to justify your presence. That is the kind of presence that ages like fine wine, becoming richer, deeper, and more compelling over time. This is not just psychological theory, it's biological. Humans are wired to notice energy first, words second. A man who is calm, composed, and measured in his interactions communicates strength in a way words can't capture. He communicates that he is comfortable in his skin, that he is in control of his life, and that he is not dependent on external validation. Women, perhaps unconsciously, are drawn to this because it signals reliability, emotional stability, and the kind of leadership they instinctively recognize. They feel it before they even hear you speak, and once they feel it, everything else, your intelligence, your humor, even your looks, becomes amplified. The secret to cultivating this presence is simple, yet most men never practice it. First, you have to be willing to slow down. The world rewards speed, reaction, and constant movement, but attraction thrives in stillness. You don't need to fill every silence with noise, and you don't need to rush to respond to every stimulus. Learn to pause, observe, and act with intention. Let your actions carry the weight your words cannot. When you speak, make it matter. When you move, make it deliberate. When you listen, make it real. This is the essence of controlled presence. Another crucial element is confidence, but not the superficial, ego-driven confidence so many men mistake for power. True confidence is quiet, internal, unshakable. It is not built on external approval or fleeting attention. It is built on mastery of your mind, your habits, your emotions, and your life. When you cultivate this inner certainty, it radiates outward, shaping the way others perceive you. Women notice the difference immediately. They feel it in the way you handle conversations, in the way you navigate social settings, and in the way you maintain composure when things do not go your way. This is magnetic because it is rare. Most men are reactive, insecure, or desperate for attention, and that desperation is palpable. When you are not desperate, when you are grounded, you become the exception, the man everyone notices but cannot easily categorize. And here's the most important part. Presence is not just about how others see you, it is about how you see yourself. The moment you stop chasing validation and start cultivating a presence rooted in self-respect, everything changes. Your energy shifts, your posture shifts. Your voice, your gaze, your very existence communicates power and maturity. You don't need tricks, routines, or gimmicks. You need mastery over yourself. Silence becomes your ally, your movements become intentional, and your presence becomes irresistible. So if you take one thing from this, let it be this: the older you get, the more your presence matters. Not your words, not your money, not your status. Presence is your silent language, and mastery of it will make you magnetic in ways you've never imagined. Cultivate it, protect it, respect it, and the world and the women you wish to attract will respond to you before you even speak. If presence and silence are the foundation of attraction, then the ability to listen is the architecture that builds it. And I'm not talking about the kind of listening most men think they are doing. The polite nods, the huss, the occasional eye contact while they're already thinking of their next line. That isn't listening. That's waiting to speak. True listening is rare, almost revolutionary, and it has a power that many men, especially older men, underestimate entirely. Because when a man genuinely listens, he doesn't just hear words, he perceives emotions, he deciphers intent, he understands the unspoken. And that understanding is magnetic. Think about it. How many times have you met someone, maybe a woman, maybe a younger man, and left the conversation feeling unseen or unheard? Most people live their lives in noise, competing to be louder, faster, and more impressive. But when you encounter someone who listens, really listens, you feel it in your chest. It's a visceral reaction. You feel safe. You feel acknowledged. You feel validated. And this is exactly what gives older men an edge in attraction. They have lived. They have seen the chaos of the world, the superficiality, the noise. They don't need to add to it. They have learned that listening is a weapon far more powerful than any flashy display of wealth, intellect, or charm. Listening at this level requires patience. It requires a willingness to let someone speak without interruption, without judgment, without rushing to fix, solve, or argue. Most men fail here because they confuse listening with approval. But true listening is not about agreeing. It is about understanding. It is about tuning into the rhythm of the other person's mind, noticing the pauses, the tension, the excitement, and even the fears that lurk beneath their words. Women sense this instantly. They feel the difference between a man who hears them and a man who merely waits for his turn to talk. And when they feel that depth of attention, they respond with openness, trust, and intrigue. Another crucial aspect is presence while listening. This ties back to the first point, because listening is not just about ears, it's about energy, your gaze, your posture, your breathing, even the subtle nods you give, all communicate to the speaker that you are fully there, that you are present. When an older man masters this, He communicates more in silence than most men ever could with words. His listening becomes a mirror, reflecting the speaker's emotions back to them in a way that validates and amplifies their experience. And that reflection is powerful. It makes people feel seen, important, and safe, qualities that are universally attractive. The intellectual depth comes in knowing how to respond. Listening is not passive, it is active, intentional, and strategic. A response given after deep listening carries weight. It communicates insight, empathy, and awareness. Older men who have cultivated this skill can guide conversations with subtlety, planting ideas, offering clarity, and inspiring confidence, all without force or dominance. It is a quiet form of leadership that women, and people in general, are instinctively drawn to. They feel understood before they even process why they feel it, and that unconscious magnetism is impossible to fake. Here's the truth that shocks most men: emotional connection is the new attractiveness. Looks fade, money comes and goes, but the ability to make someone feel truly understood, that transcends age. When you listen deeply, you create intimacy without pressure, trust without manipulation, and attraction without effort. Women, especially, are wired to respond to men who can hold space for their emotions, who can hear beyond words, and who can navigate the complexity of human feeling with calm and maturity. This skill is rare, and rarity equals desirability. So how do you practice this? You slow down, you silence the urge to react, you ask questions not to impress, but to explore. You hold space for someone else's thoughts and feelings, even when they challenge you or reveal uncomfortable truths. And you do this consistently until it becomes a part of who you are, not just a strategy. Because authenticity is the bedrock of attraction. People sense when you are genuine. They sense when you are not. If you take one thing from this, let it be this: the older you get, the more listening becomes your ultimate tool of influence and attraction. To listen deeply is to honor the other person, to demonstrate emotional intelligence, and to radiate a kind of strength that cannot be replicated by words or gestures alone. Master this skill, and you won't need to chase attention or approval. People will naturally be drawn to your presence, your energy, and your understanding. Listen, not to reply, not to impress, but to connect, and watch how effortlessly respect, trust, and attraction follow. If presence and listening are the foundation, then discipline, purpose, and standards are the structure that gives a man his shape. These are the qualities that separate men who age into irrelevance from men who grow into magnetic authority. Discipline is not about restriction, and purpose is not about rigid routine. Together, they create a life that is intentional, predictable in its reliability, yet mysterious in its depth. Older men who carry themselves with this kind of internal order are instantly attractive because they give off a sense of mastery over their own existence. And mastery, when genuine, is impossible to ignore. Discipline begins with the small choices, the daily habits, the self-control, the ability to follow through on promises to yourself even when no one is watching. Most men believe that attraction comes from showing off their accomplishments, their wealth, or their charm. But in truth, women respond more to the invisible victories. The man who wakes up early because he respects his health, the man who prioritizes growth over comfort, the man who works on himself consistently, not for applause, but because he understands that his life is his responsibility. Discipline, when internalized, radiates. It shows in the way you walk, the steadiness of your voice, the confidence in your decisions. It signals that you are not reactive, you are reliable, you are unshakable. Purpose amplifies this magnetism exponentially. A man without purpose drifts through life. He reacts to circumstances rather than shaping them. But an older man with purpose commands attention because he moves with intention, even when he is silent. Purpose is not necessarily grandiose. It doesn't need to be saving the world, but it must be meaningful to you. It could be a passion, a career, a mission of personal growth, or the pursuit of knowledge. Women are instinctively drawn to purpose because it reflects stability, vision, and the capacity to lead, not just in business or status, but in life itself. Purposeful men are rare, especially those who have lived, failed, learned, and are still striving forward. That combination of experience and direction is magnetic in ways that youthful charm cannot replicate. Standards are the third pillar of this triad, and perhaps the most overlooked. Standards are about respect for yourself, for others, and for the way you engage with the world. They are not arrogance, and they are not inflexibility. They are clarity. They are the boundaries you set so that you do not compromise your integrity, your energy, or your time. Women, perhaps unconsciously, recognize this immediately. A man with clear standards communicates that he is not desperate, that he values himself, and that he cannot be taken for granted. That kind of self-respect inspires respect in return. Standards protect you from mediocrity. They protect your energy, and they amplify your presence in ways that superficial charm never could. The synergy of discipline, purpose, and standards is where true attraction lies. A man who is disciplined has control over himself. A man with purpose has direction in life. A man with standards has respect for his boundaries. Put them together, and you become a man whose energy commands attention without effort. This is why older men who cultivate these traits appear so magnetic. They exude competence, stability, and confidence. These are qualities that women feel instinctively, long before they consciously notice them. They sense a man who can handle challenges, a man who is consistent under pressure, a man who is committed to growth. And that, more than looks, money, or words, is what makes you irresistible. Discipline, purpose, and standards are not habits you can adopt overnight. They are cultivated over years of intention, reflection, and persistence. They require honesty with yourself, a willingness to face discomfort, and a refusal to settle for the easy or convenient path. But the payoff is immeasurable. You become a man whose presence is felt even in silence, whose energy attracts without effort, whose life commands respect without demand. And the beauty of this is that it isn't performative, it is authentic, it is real. And authenticity, above all, is magnetic. If you take one thing from this, let it be this: the older you get, the more your discipline, your purpose, and your standards define your attractiveness. Women respond to it. Men respect it. And most importantly, you respect yourself. Cultivate these pillars relentlessly, and your life and your presence will become irresistible in ways that youth, charm, or luck could never achieve. Master yourself first, and the world will follow. If presence, listening, and disciplined purpose define the body and structure of attraction, then emotional composure and maturity are the soul that gives it depth. This is the element most men overlook, yet it is perhaps the most powerful, because women, especially intelligent, self-aware women, instinctively recognize emotional stability as the mark of a man they can trust, rely on, and desire. Emotional composure is not about suppressing feelings or pretending to be indifferent. It is about mastering your internal world so that your reactions are deliberate, measured, and aligned with your long-term vision, rather than dictated by fleeting impulses or external chaos. Most men react before they think. They let anger, frustration, insecurity, or excitement drive their behavior. They speak before they process. They act before they reflect. This impulsiveness is obvious, exhausting, and unappealing. Women feel it even before they consciously register it, and it pushes them away. But an older man who has cultivated emotional composure navigates life differently. He pauses, he observes, he evaluates. He responds rather than reacts. This does not make him cold. It makes him formidable. It communicates stability, strength, and control. And women, consciously or not, are drawn to that. They recognize that a man who handles his emotions well can handle the unpredictability of life, relationships, and intimacy with grace. Emotional maturity extends beyond mere control. It is the ability to process experiences and failures without allowing them to dictate your future. It is the recognition that life is imperfect, People are flawed, and circumstances are often beyond your control. The mature man does not waste energy blaming, complaining, or obsessing over what cannot be changed. He takes responsibility for his responses, and in doing so, he elevates himself above the chaos that traps most men. Women are naturally attracted to this quality because it signals reliability and security. They feel safe, respected, and understood without even needing to articulate it. That sense of safety is more attractive than any physical feature or material possession because it resonates on a deeper, almost primal level. Another aspect of emotional composure is the ability to navigate conflict without destruction. Most men either avoid conflict entirely or confront it aggressively, creating tension that pushes people away. The older man with composure, however, understands that conflict is a natural part of life and relationships. He approaches it strategically, calmly, and with empathy. He communicates his boundaries without aggression, expresses his needs without blame, and negotiates differences without fear. This skill alone separates the men who are respected and desired from those who are ignored or feared. Women notice not just what a man says, but how he handles tension, discomfort, and challenges. Emotional maturity in this arena is magnetic because it demonstrates a level of self-mastery and reliability few men achieve. Emotional composure also enhances presence. When your emotions are balanced, your energy is stable. You move through the world without being tossed around by drama, gossip, or uncertainty. People, and especially women, are drawn to this energy because it is calming and inspiring. They sense a man who does not collapse under pressure, who does not overreact, who does not seek constant validation. In a world filled with volatility, unpredictability, and emotional immaturity, the composed man becomes a refuge, a source of strength, and a figure of attraction that cannot be ignored. Maturity also allows a man to build deeper connections without desperation. Women are drawn to men who are self-contained, who do not rely on external approval to validate their worth, and who can offer empathy, understanding, and emotional stability without losing themselves. This is not theoretical, it is practical, observable, and transformative in real interactions. Emotional composure and maturity are not just attractive, they are compelling. They make people want to be around you, to confide in you, to trust you, and to admire you. So if you take one thing from this, let it be this: emotional composure and maturity are not optional. They are essential for genuine magnetism. The older you get, the more your ability to manage your inner world determines the depth of attraction you generate. Cultivate calm in chaos. Learn to respond rather than react. Develop wisdom from experience rather than bitterness from failure. Because a man who masters his emotions does not just look attractive. He becomes someone women instinctively respect, trust, and desire. Your composure is your strength, your maturity is your power, and together they will make you unforgettable. If presence, listening, discipline, and emotional mastery form the foundation and structure of a man's attractiveness, then intentional mystery is the element that transforms him from remarkable to irresistible. This is the trait most men misunderstand because they confuse it with games, manipulation, or deceit. It is none of those things. True mystery is the quiet confidence to know that you do not need to reveal every thought, share every detail, or justify every action. It is the ability to live your life with purpose and integrity while maintaining a space that is yours alone, a space that invites curiosity, admiration, and a subtle desire to understand you more deeply. Women in particular are drawn to mystery because it creates intrigue without effort. Think about it. If a man exposes everything immediately, his life, his thoughts, his feelings, there is nothing left to discover. Curiosity fades and attraction wanes. But the man who reveals himself selectively, who engages fully in conversation without oversharing, who has passions, routines, and experiences that exist beyond the gaze of others, he becomes magnetic. Mystery is not about hiding who you are. It is about cultivating depth that can only be appreciated through time, attention, and investment. It is a reflection of self-possession, the unshakable understanding that your value does not depend on constant validation or disclosure. This trait intersects powerfully with all the other habits we've discussed. Your presence becomes stronger when it is not diluted by over-explanation. Your listening skills are enhanced when your energy is focused on understanding rather than on being understood. Your discipline and standards create boundaries that make selective sharing natural, and your emotional composure ensures that you do not overact when others attempt to breach those boundaries. Mystery is the subtle layer that connects these traits into an aura of intrigue. It makes your life compelling because it communicates that there is more to you than meets the eye, and that discovery is a privilege earned, not freely given. Intentional mystery also signals independence. Women are drawn to men who live fully in their own world, who are not defined by the approval, attention, or expectations of others. When you cultivate your own interests, your own routines, and your own passions, you create a life that is vibrant, purposeful, and autonomous. This independence is magnetic because it communicates that you are not needy, you are not reactive, and you are not dependent on anyone to validate your existence. A man who is secure in himself, whose life is rich with experience, and whose energy is self-contained becomes a figure of admiration, respect, and attraction simply by being himself. Another subtle aspect of intentional mystery is the way it builds anticipation. Women, and people in general, are naturally drawn to what they cannot fully predict or immediately possess. By not revealing everything at once, by allowing glimpses of depth, intelligence, and strength to emerge gradually, you engage curiosity, create tension, and encourage investment. Mystery is the art of pacing revelation. It ensures that your presence is never taken for granted, that your value is never assumed, and that your energy remains powerful, compelling, and unforgettable. This is not about manipulation, nor is it about emotional distance. True mystery is rooted in authenticity. It is the natural consequence of a man living a full, disciplined, purposeful, and emotionally mature life. When your life is rich, your mind is occupied, and your energy is deliberate, mystery is unavoidable. People notice. They are drawn to understand you, to connect with you, and to engage with the depth that only time and attention can uncover. Mystery, in this sense, is the silent amplifier of all the other qualities that make a man attractive. So if you take one thing from this, let it be this: intentional mystery is the magnet that transforms presence, discipline, emotional composure, listening, and standards into irresistible attraction.